Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be doing a consumption test with the Polestar 4. We've already done a full review of this car a couple of months ago, last year. If you want to check that out, video on the top right corner. In this video we're going to see what it consumes. You can either get this car in the long range with a single motor, 620 kilometers WLTP there of the range, or you can get it as dual motor in the long range dual motor, which we have here, around 590 kilometers of real estimated WLTP range that we get. This car is going to have 544 horsepower, 686 Newton meters, and we're going to see how far it can go on the Autobahn, between 80 kilometers an hour up to 100, 120 kilometers an hour, 140, and also top speed. Top speed of this car is going to be 200 kilometers an hour. The variant that we have here also, just like the other variant, also gets a 100 kilowatts an hour battery. We're also going to do a charging test in this video to see how fast that's going to charge. And also the rims we have on here are going to be 22-inch Pirelli P0 rims, or wheels with 22-inch rims, which are going to be 265s in the front as well as in the rear, and also with Brembo brakes. I think let's get right into the first 80 kilometers an hour behind the truck test, and we'll get back to you with that. And now join me back sitting here behind the truck, well, join me for the first run actually. We're driving around 84 kilometers an hour now. This is our 80 to almost 100 kilometers an hour run. We're starting off here, we just reset our tripometer and we've set our cruise control to up to 94 kilometers an hour and also the closest distance, but still with a safe distance behind the truck. Let's quickly talk about the interior and what we actually get here in the vehicle. So we get a 100 kilowatts an hour big battery, which we're obviously going to look at also when we're doing our charging test, what you can charge it with and stuff like that. In the inside, it's a very simplistic and clean design, which is typical from Polestar. You get that big infotainment display in the center where you can have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wireless. Even if you're charging, you can watch like YouTube or stuff. Fairly easy to use. You just have your quick binds down here, and then you have all your settings for your car. You do have to change like stuff for your mirrors or stuff like that. You have to change them through here, and also up here you open your glove compartment, which is also a little bit different, but otherwise fairly simple. Would still like if there would be some physical buttons like down here, your climatization and stuff like that. You have to go through here and, well, change the vent location of it, which I'm never a big fan of, and it's also very, let's say, well, interruptive to use, or this, well, you just don't focus on the road, you focus on this. Why not just have like a small button in here where you can just move it around? Otherwise, very nice quality all throughout. We also have the white interior in here, which looks a little bit different. We have speakers in the headrest, we have speakers in the front, Harman Kardon sound system, lots of things in here which just make this car quite nice. Adaptive cruise control and lane centralization, which we have activated right now. Blind spot assistant. We have this weird thing as well, because we don't have a rear window, which is the weird thing with the Polestar 4. If you look out the back, you can see it's very private in the back, but you just don't have a rear window. And when you look out this, it just makes it like you don't have the depth of field in this, and it just, sometimes I get a headache when I look at this. My eyes take like a half a second to adjust to it. It's just a little bit weird to use. But otherwise, you can see on the steering wheel, there's also like these things are not illuminated, so you don't actually know what you do with them until you press on them. Like this is for your songs and stuff, and on the left side it's for everything else. Let me pause that. It's for everything else regarding your... At first I was afraid, I was petrified. It's for your like adaptive cruise control and some other things. And then you can also do some different layouts in here, for instance your assistant features, or you can also just have Google Maps in the back, which is nice because it's an Android system, so you do have Google Maps integrated into that. Inductive loading space here, just a cool, like the only physical button in here is for your, well, for your sound system. Some more glove compartments, not glove compartment, but more space down there with 2 USB-Cs and a lot of storage space on the bottom here. But yeah, so far behind the truck, suspension does a very good job. You can also go in here and change it. For instance, when you're in the drive, you can change how much the feathering is supposed to, the suspension is supposed to be. So you can have agile, or you can have it fairly hard or standard. I like to keep it on agile or standard. There's quite a difference in between the two. And then you can also have one pedal drive. Obviously I've put it onto off. When it comes to optimal range, you can only do range or performance. I've put it into range, so that's the only thing I have changed. Otherwise you can't put like an eco mode, anything in here. That's about it. Let's get back to you at, well, different speeds. Ja, müssen wir. Ich sag mal, so gut, dass wir hier Dings haben, ne? Ladekarte. Der geht das Ding jetzt immer noch nicht. Nee, doch, es geht. Yeah. And now join me back on the Autobahn here, where we are looking. And now join me back on the Autobahn. And now join me back on the Autobahn, where we're going to be driving 140 now. I've set our tripometer backwards, not backwards, I've reset it, and I've also, well, set our our cruise control up to 140. You can see the screen is now also very dirty because, well, yesterday wasn't the nicest day, and we also took some, well, birds with it. Not birds, that would be bad. We took some like mosquitoes and stuff like that with us because we were doing our top speed test as well yesterday. It's a different day now, and there's also, yeah, it looks quite busy, so I'm gonna see, maybe we don't even get the highest value here. Probably the 120 and 140 might be quite similar. We'll see at the end what we actually get. But yeah, at 140, we're currently cruising at 125. I think the outside noise is still fairly decent. You will obviously hear like bigger trucks and stuff like that. You will hear quite prominent, but wind noise will also increase a little bit here on the side, obviously. But in my opinion, it's still fairly decent. And cruising at 140 is still fairly comfortable. Suspension, I've still set it into that standard setting, and it still feels fairly comfortable. It does a nice job of, even at higher speed, smoothing out all of the like little bumps, and just a general fairly nice ride quality here at those speeds. And the thing is that you also have a very nice sound system in here, which you can even make that if for instance you want your kids to sleep in the back, you can actually make it that you have, well, you have speakers in the headrest, and you can turn them on so you yourself hears the music, which is quite cool, because then you can just have music playing through your head and everyone else in the back just doesn't hear anything. It's actually a quite nice feature that first time I've seen on this, but in the Polestar 3 that's also a thing that they, for instance, have, which is a quite nice feature. But yeah, other than that, we got back to you at 140, 120. No, we'll get back to your top speed. There we go, jeez. Okay. So like I said, you have 100 kilowatts in our battery in here, but the net usage of that is going to be 94. You can charge it on the left side, on the driver's side. If we open the car, there we go. It will be electrical, there we go. And we can charge up to 200 kilowatts. We were able to, the time we charged around this car around 4 times. I've never been able to get past 156. We even just now charge at a 400 kilowatts charging spot. Claimed is around 31 minutes from 10 to 80%. We have not charged it from 10 to 80%, usually around 20%. The one we just did was from 22% up to 80%. And that took us a total of 27 minutes. So not too bad for the price, however, maybe a little bit slow. Max charging speed there was also 155.7 with an average charging speed of 120.7, which is quite nice. Even at 80%, it was still saying 110 kilowatts, so quite quick there. And we charge a total of 54.83 kilowatts an hour. No, not okay. No, open again. No, come on. There you go. Okay, I guess it sometimes also wants to cut off its head from that cover, but let's close that back up. So not a bad charging speed, considering it's only a 400 volt architecture and fairly stable over those terms. However, for the price, I think a little bit low of a charging speed. And now join me back on the Autobahn, where we're going to be driving 140 now. I've set our tripometer backwards, not backwards, I've reset it, and I've also, well, set our cruise control up to 140. You can see the screen is now also very dirty because, well, yesterday wasn't the nicest day, and we also took some, well, birds with it. Not birds, that would be bad. We took some like mosquitoes and stuff like that with us because we were doing our top speed test as well yesterday. It's a different day now, and there's also, yeah, it looks quite busy, so I'm gonna see, maybe we don't even get the highest value here. Probably the 120 and 140 might be quite similar. We'll see at the end what we actually get. But yeah, at 140, we're currently cruising at 125. I think the outside noise is still fairly decent. You will obviously hear like bigger trucks and stuff like that. You will hear quite prominent, but wind noise will also increase a little bit here on the side, obviously. But in my opinion, it's still fairly decent. And cruising at 140 is still fairly comfortable. Suspension, I've still set it into that standard setting, and it still feels fairly comfortable. It does a nice job of, even at higher speed, smoothing out all of the like little bumps, and just a general fairly nice ride quality here at those speeds. And the thing is that you also have a very nice sound system in here, which you can even make that if you, for instance, you want your kids to sleep in the back, you can actually make it that you have speakers in the headrest, and you can turn them on so you yourself hears the music, which is quite cool, because then you can just have music playing through your head and everyone else in the back just doesn't hear anything. It's actually a quite nice feature that first time I've seen on this, but in the Polestar 3 that's also a thing that they, for instance, have, which is a quite nice feature. And I just want to quickly show you a couple of things here. Not a couple of things, just with the adaptive cruise control, we notice it now, because yesterday when we were driving we didn't really have many trucks that were moving outwards. Well, we're just sitting behind the truck. But at 140 here, if for instance a truck goes outside or somebody just slows down in front of me, the braking in here is going to be very, very harsh. If I'm, for instance, on the lowest distance to the car in front, which should still have the radar system up towards the front and always basically know when there's a car in front of me, it will start to brake very early. I'm gonna see if one of them shears out now so I can show you that. It just, oh jeez. Okay. Yeah, it just is a very abrupt stop. Look, people in front of me are going to stop now, and I'm kind of slowing down. 130, 135. He's slowing, so I'm going, and then it's just a harsh brake there. Look, from 130 down to 120. Why not just make that smooth? Because now it's going to go up to the distance that I want to keep to the car in front, which is the lowest, which is definitely not what I'm currently at. You can see here I'm set to the lowest. If that truck now is going to shear out behind me, you can see here, it's just a harsh brake like that. Why is he braking that hard? That is something I'm not a big fan of, and it does not feel very nice especially when you're driving this. I'm going off the gas pedal now, 110, and okay, that was better, but you saw it there by two examples. It's just not the nicest thing when somebody shears out, and it's basically does almost an emergency stop, in my opinion. It just does not feel good at all. And join me now when we're doing our high-speed test. My colleague is currently driving. We're looking at, currently 160 kilometers an hour. Obviously there's not too much space in front of us right now, but every time we do have the chance, we will go as fast as we can, which in this car is 200 kilometers. And we can see now accelerating 3.8 seconds from 0 to 100, and top speed of around 205. Tachometer, GPS probably 198, 200, 206, I just saw there for a second. Definitely gets up to those speeds really quickly, and we do also have the performance package on here, meaning we also get Brembo brakes, which will stop you quite quickly at those speeds, and also like these golden elements here on our seatbelt, which is quite nice. Otherwise, 544 horsepower obviously means you can get this car up there very quickly, and 686 Newton meters. And the nice thing is at these higher speeds, it's actually still quite comfortable to talk in here. You don't have to speak up too much. You will notice some wind noise all the way up here, but that's about it. You can change a couple of things, like I already mentioned, the suspension and the feeling, and you just have those two modes, performance or obviously distance or range, and we've just put it onto performance for this. It'll be pretty interesting to see what consumption we get. Obviously sometimes we are driving 100 because it's impossible to always be driving unlimited or top speed, so there is a lot of times where we brake and then accelerate again, but that's usually what you're going to do if you're doing a top speed run on the Autobahn. There's never going to be just open space. But the nice thing about the car is also that you have that 100 kilowatts an hour battery in there, and therefore a fairly low center of gravity. And that allows you to even have a fairly stable ride at these higher speeds, and the car is fairly stuck to the ground with almost 2.4 tons of weight. I mean, that is quite a lot of weight, and therefore actually feels quite comfortable to drive at these speeds. And like I said, it's really quick to get up to those top speeds. And now let's look at all the numbers, which are obviously the most important thing when you're doing a range test. We want to see how far the car actually gets. So keep in mind, we have changed our distance that we do test these cars for around 40 kilometers now compared to 88 kilometers. 88 kilometers, we can just no longer do that with the time because it takes like a full day to actually record that. And now with 40 kilometers, we can actually do some more videos on the same day. So the battery net usage is 94 kilowatts an hour. And the way I always calculate my range is by doing 94 kilowatts an hour divided by what we got, and then it's completely 100% down to 0% of your theoretical estimated range that you then get. So 100 kilometers an hour behind the truck, we had an average consumption of 14.3 kilowatts an hour, which is not too bad. Average speed there was 82.22 kilometers an hour with a total time of 27 minutes. And that would give you a theoretically full range of 657 kilometers if you were to drive 80 kilometers an hour behind the truck. Price then there would be €7.01 with my 49 cents per kilowatts an hour plan with the ENBW medium plan. Then we also have the 120 kilometers an hour test where we got a 24.5, which is actually quite a high amount of kilowatts an hour for that test. The average speed there was 112.5 with a total time of 21 minutes. Theoretical total range then would be 384 kilometers an hour. The price there would also be €12.01. Then the 140 kilometers an hour test, we actually had quite a lot of traffic jams, but we still got up to the speeds sometimes. And that's where the consumption is only, but still 26.4 kilowatts an hour with an average speed of 108.6 kilometers an hour, total time 21 minutes, and a total range of 356 kilometers. That would cost you €12.94. Then we had the top speed test, which got a consumption of 43.2 kilowatts an hour, average speed 153.2, so quite high, 15 minutes of total time, and a total range of 218 kilometers, which is obviously not too much, but still not bad if you're completely flooring it this car. Price there would, however, be €21.17, which again is obviously quite high. What do you think of the range of the Polestar 4 here with the long-range dual motor? Let me know in the comments and make sure to like, subscribe. It's always very much appreciated to, well, see the growth of the channel and allow us to do more of these videos with also different cars. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.